what I've been wanting to review for quite some time is this massive knife. This is the British Ministry of Defence survival knife, and there was always something getting in the way. Either I didn't like it because it didn't really come up to my standards, so I had to modify it heavily, and then I left it in my other house, which I don't really visit that often, and yeah, that was a major issue as well. But anyway, it's here, it's ready to use now, as I say, heavily modified, and if we can have a massive zoom on it so I can show you exactly what it looks like. It's really thick. This is about 6mm thick spine. It's about 7 inches long, which is about 18 centimeters. I'm talking about the blade. And the handle is also massive. I mean, I always say how big my hands are, and they are, and look at this. This handle is actually bigger than my hand needs, which doesn't really happen very often. So, and okay, so let's start with the modifications I was talking about. So first of all, I sanded the handle down because it was protruding. This is apparently intentional. The scales protrude and they stick out, basically stick out a little bit higher than the tang. Well, it's said to be deliberately done so you can adjust it to your hand, and or maybe to keep your hands from getting cold when the knife is used in cold environment. Don't know about that. It doesn't really bother me. I just sanded it down smooth, straight with the flush with the tang. And okay, so second thing, it wasn't sharp at all. There was no edge on it. So I basically created something like a saber grind type. This is almost a Scandi grind with a secondary bevel. So now it's shaving sharp. I don't have a piece of paper to prove it, but just believe me, it is. And okay, so I took off the black coating. It's said to be very robust. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me. So I took it all off and forced a nice patina using some vinegar, and that's how it came out. Another thing, I sharpened the spine, and one of the biggest modifications, apart from filling up the gaps between scales and the tang with beeswax, because there were gaps, massive gaps in places. Well, not massive, but yeah, you could see that you could basically just stick your fingernail between the tang and the scales. But beeswax works for that very well, so it's all smooth and without any gaps anymore. And my major disadvantage was the guard, because this knife is so blade heavy. It was very difficult to hold the knife like this and use it for feather sticking on anything else, anything other than heavy chopping and maybe batoning. So I took the guard off, basically just cut it off, and used some hockey tape to make it more hand friendly and soft. Now I can choke up on the knife, and I can feather stick, I can carve, and I can slide my hand a little back for heavy chopping. I attach this lanyard here because what I like to do is wrap it around my hand and it's not going anywhere, so I can chop pretty heavily and it's not going to slip out. And I obviously applied some tang oil, my favorite oil for wood treatment, and a lot of tang oil. I allowed it to dry properly, then sanded it smooth so it's really nice and pretty much waterproof. It doesn't smell anymore because it's been a while. So okay, so let's see what it can do. Okay, I almost forgot. One of the biggest modifications was the sheath. I basically chucked away well, I didn't chuck it away because I still use it for storing the knife, but I never use it when I have to actually wear the knife on my belt. The sheath is basically crap. It was backwards. I actually talked about this in my other video about knives and sheath modifications. So yeah, I made this one from some crappy leather, but it's well, sturdy enough. It's quite thick, and it does the job. It holds the knife, not perfectly. It will come out if you whack it, but as you can see, this is quite heavy knife. This is almost, it weighs about a pound, so that's a pretty heavy knife, but it stays in there just by friction. So this hockey tape helps as well. So, and you're not gonna cut it because it's riveted all around here. So, and it still has this leather welt in the middle. It does the job for me. So it's definitely much better than the one that the knife came with. Okay, so let's do some chopping. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, the lanyard. Wrap it around your hand. So even with the gloves, it's a little short for gloves, but it will work. Right, that's good. Yeah, look how deep this thing bites. There we go. Yeah, so as you can see, this pretty much works as a little machete. Well, it's actually not that awful. Well, it's not perfect either, but yeah, it's a two-handed feather sticker. Okay. Not too bad. Okay, so we've got everything ready. I collected some birch bark. Okay. Right, so it's probably not the best choice for all the tasks, but it will do all the jobs. It will do chopping much better, definitely, and it will still do some tasks that small knives are meant to be doing. It's not going to be as good at that, but as you could see, in the end it can be done.